plus one? Honey, I've always been that one to defend Porsha. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Raphael and I'm here to review the first part of the reunion to season 16 of the Real Housewives with Questionable Receipts of Atlanta. So we start the first part of the reunion with everyone arriving on location, which surprisingly, this time around it's in Atlanta. And typically the reunions are set in New York, so I guess the budget went to Phaedra's return. What a waste. So everybody's in their own glam room. They're all getting ready. Angela is Angela-ing. Waffles is waffling. We see Porsha. She's taking a nap. Completely understandable. You know, taking other people's husbands, it's a full-time job. It's very demanding and it's very stressful on the body. So I completely understand why she needs some sleep. So get your rest, Porsha. Phaedra, the producers, they pull Phaedra to the side and they're like, Phaedra, can you go into Britt Edie's room and just pretend to care that she's not here? So Phaedra, she's like, who's Britt Edie? Oh, the one that's still in the production team? Okay. I'll go in there in a second. You're still paying me extra for this, right? You're not? Okay, I'll do it for free. No, it's fine. I'm back. She goes into Britt's room. The whole room is completely empty. Not that it would have made a difference if Britt was in the room. It still would have been empty. Maybe she would have had one ply of toilet paper at most. So Phaedra, she's walking around and she's like, Britt? She's walking around like Velma from Scooby-Doo. Jinkies, where's Britt? Britt Edie, Britt, Christina's not there. So she goes to the producer. Okay, so I did my job. Was that good? The producers tell Phaedra, yeah, you need to take acting classes. That was terrible, but we're still gonna use the footage on the reunion. So then Phaedra, she goes to Porsha. She wakes her up and she's like, homewrecker, wake up. So guess what? What's the new girl's name? The one that Kenya got fired over. Yeah, Britt Edie. She's not here. She's not attending. So Porsha, she's waking up and she's like, oh, that was a good nap. Okay, I'm ready for this reunion. Do I have first seat? Wait a minute. Hold on, stop. You're telling me that Britt Edie's not at the reunion? What are we gonna talk about? So now everybody's shaking in their boots, right? So now we get to the stage. Andy, he's already sitting there. They're already 2 hours late. So in typical reunion review, we're gonna talk about the stage, the seating placement, and the looks. Starting off with the stage. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the left side of the couch first. The whole theme of the reunion was yellow and gold. We're gonna start with Cynthia. She's on the very end of the couch. Understandable, you know, Cynthia, she was just here to have a good time, to throw a Bailey Q or two, and to stay out of another divorce. As for her look, it's very simple, but again, she was just there as a friend of, and she still looks beautiful, and I love her hair, so she looks good. Then we move over to Phaedra, who's sitting in between her and Porsha. Her seating placement, it's a bit questionable. She should be sitting at home and not on the show, but okay. As for her look, Phaedra, did you even try? Did you even attempt anything? Like, she was probably backstage still trying to figure out what to wear. Like, okay, so the theme is yellow or gold. You know what? I think my son, Mr. President, I think he still has his birthday crown from his last birthday. Mr. President, can I just borrow your yellow crown for a second? Okay, thank you. Okay, I got these tacky earrings that Giselle Bryant let me borrow. Okay, let me put these on. I have these golden yellow tassels that I used to wear for Apollo when we were together years ago. Oh, I miss Apollo. I wonder what he's doing. I couldn't stand him on Married to Medicine. Okay, let me wear this. What else? Okay, I need one more thing. Oh, that kitchen tablecloth. It's gold. Let me get that. Okay, let me just wrap this around my waist. Let me make it into a giant knot. Can you pass me a pair of scissors? Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna cut the slit right here against my thigh. And you know what I think she was inspired by? She was inspired by Aaliyah's movie, Queen of the Damned. Like, both looks are very similar, except Phaedra was kind of like the sequel that went to DVD and nobody watched. You know, like Aaliyah, she had Queen of the Damned, and Phaedra had Queen of the Damn, I look a mess. You know, so I mean, but you know who I really think is responsible for Phaedra's look? And I'm being so completely serious with this. I feel like it was Rock Nation and Jay-Z. I'm sorry, like, you can say whatever you want, but I feel like it was Rock Nation and Jay-Z and the corporate giants who are trying to take down, you know, Phaedra amongst other people. So then we go over to Porsha, and she's the first chair. Understandable, this is her grand return that flopped. As for her look, you know, regardless of whether you feel some type of way about Porsha and her actions or her as a person, you cannot deny that she looks beautiful. Like, she looks good. And honestly, if I was Fallon, right, I would tell Simon, you know what, Simon? I get it. Like, yeah, you cheated on me behind my back, allegedly, and I found these messages between you and Porsha. But you know what? I get it. Like, go ahead. I would do it too. No, I'm just kidding. Like, Porsha, you're still trash for doing what you did to Fallon and taking that woman's husband. And Simon, you too, because it takes two to tango. But she does look beautiful. I mean, the dress, I don't know if this is a two-piece combo or whatever, but I love the armor, the golden armor. It just looks like she's about to go, and battle a bunch of women for their husbands. And I love the skirt, the hair, Porsha. She can never do wrong with looks. Then we go over to the other couch, and Shamea's the first chair. And if I would have based it off just the first episode this season, I would have said, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. But based off these last couple of episodes, Shamea, especially that high school talent show that you threw on the finale, yeah, honestly, you should be sitting on Portia's lap, as they said later on, but all right. But as for her look, Shamea, I feel like we need to have a silent moment for a second. Because it took 17 long, very long episodes for Shamea to finally get it right. But you know what? Better late than never, right? Because Shamea, from the bob cut to the pattern of the dress to the dress itself, you look perfect. You look beyond beautiful. I love the entire look. And honestly, you had me worried for a second because I thought, okay, I already know how Shamea has been dressing the entire season. I already know that she's about to show up wearing a Chanel necklace, a blazer with a dress underneath it with a golden sneakers. And, one foot's going to have a sneaker on. The other's going to have a thigh-high boot. She's probably going to have a crown on with a flower, poking out her back. And, you were probably going to have every single type of jewelry on your wrist. Like, I was nervous for a second. But you know what? We pulled through and this is what I want to see. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to see. So fire whoever's responsible for coming up with those science projects that you call an outfit the entire season. Fire them and hire whoever dressed you for this reunion because Shamea, you look beautiful. Then we head over to Angela sitting next to her. And honestly, Angela could have, I feel like she was a good competition for the first chair, but she's sitting next to her. Her look, just like Cynthia, it's very simple, but it's safe. She looks beautiful. Then we head over to Waffles, who's sitting next to her. Honestly, she should be sitting at home with Britt, but, whatever. As for her look, from the neck up, she looks beautiful. I love the hair. But the dress, Kelly, I just feel like Kelly, I don't think that she realizes that she's not tall. So, these big dresses that she's wearing, they usually swallow her up and then it just looks a mess because it looks like 3 different dresses stapled together. But, so I'm not a fan of it. Then we head over to Drew, and I've said it before that the disrespect, right? Because everybody was clawing at Drew for her storyline, trying to use her for this, trying to use her for that, and now she's at the very, 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 very end of the couch. Like, she's basically about to fall off. She's basically sitting on the carpet. But as for her look, with feathers, it could go either way. But I feel like she pulled it off just right, so I think she looks good. And honestly, this is probably going to be her last reunion, so this is a good way to go out. So it was nice seeing you, Drew, if you don't come back, allegedly. As for my reunion look, for my reunion reviews, I try to wear something inspired by somebody at the reunion. My look this time is inspired by Phaedra's look. So what does everybody think? Who wore it better, Phaedra or me? And if you say Phaedra, you're getting blocked. Let me give you a close-up of my golden bra. Look at that, it's so luxurious. And this is all custom gold, like this is actual gold. Allegedly. Let me give you a close-up of my earrings. Look at that. Bling, bling. This is diamonds right here. All of this is diamonds, pure custom diamonds that I just got custom made somewhere in Europe. Allegedly. And this golden crown too. This was imported by Italy. Allegedly. And honestly, kudos to Phaedra for keeping it together the entire reunion for the whole day and sitting there on that couch in that look because, it's a lot. I've only been sitting here for about 15 minutes and I'm ready to just go take a shower. I am sweating keeping it all together because my neck is stiff. I'm trying to keep this crown together. This bra is kind of heavy. It's a lot. And, on top of that, these earrings are also heavy too. And they're stretching out my hole. Well, my earlobes, because my other hole, that's nice and tight. But yeah, it's just the whole production. So, 2 points for Phaedra. Andy goes around asking how everyone's feeling. Porsha, she makes a comment about her breasts. She tells Andy, "You want to smell them?" Andy was just like, "Oh no, that sounds like an HR issue." So it's interesting, Andy, so you do know what's right and wrong. Yet he tells Phaedra, "Oh, how does it feel being back on the reunion stage, knowing how your last reunion went?" Alluding to the whole situation between her and Candy. And isn't that an HR issue? Yet Phaedra was brought back. And the whole situation with Kenya, wasn't that an HR issue? Yeah, she's fired. So it's just interesting how they pick and choose, but okay. So he drops the bomb and he tells them, so Britt Edie and her suspicious husband and her toilet paper are not gonna be at this reunion. And there goes Kelly's fucking storyline. You know, Waffles was just sitting there like, I need to think of something quickly. What if I start talking about my divorce again? No, but people are tired of me talking about that. What if I just lie and say I'm opening up a new waffle restaurant? No, but then I'm gonna get exposed and I barely know how to cook. You know what? I'm just gonna go after Porsha and Simon. I already did it the first episode of the season anyway, so I have nothing to lose. You know, she was shaking on that couch. So then Andy tells Cynthia, let's talk about your clit with the hood on it. And I'm like, whoa, Andy, I thought this was a classy reunion. You know, if I was Cynthia, I would have told Andy, okay, you pull out your dick first and let's talk about that. You know, just to even out the conversation, like, that is a crazy topic. Andy asks everyone what is their intention by the end of the reunion. Porsha, she's like,
well, you know what? I just want to know what doors to leave open and what doors to close permanently. You know, because that's what doors do. They close and open. I'm so funny.
And then they pan over to Shamea, and Shamea looks pissed in the face. I mean, obviously, her and Porsha are still rocky, so Shamea, she also says, I just want to give a little prayer for everyone here. So they all bow their heads, and she's like, I'm just hoping by this end of the reunion that we could all come together as women and still be okay and resolve things. And I just hope I get my season 17 contract and I still have my peach intact. Like, I know I started off strong and I kind of flopped at the end of the season. I know, I get it. And I saw everybody's comments about my high school talent show and me performing, and I get it. I understand, but I promise to do better for next season. And I hope that Nene Leakes and Kenya Moore come back. Amen. So that was that. So then they started talking about Porsha and Simon. And again, they continue skating around this whole topic instead of actually asking Porsha, do you think that you did wrong by Fallon and this whole situation? Or honestly, I wish in a different lifetime that they would have just brought out Fallon and surprised Porsha. Like, oh, we have an extra guest. Come on out, Fallon. Could you imagine that? But no. So then, Porsha, she starts getting emotional. She's like,
well, you know what? The thing between me and Simon, it was real. You know, I loved him and everything was really nice. And I just feel like I was in danger in that relationship, but I don't really want to talk about it for legal purposes.
And it's always legal purposes. Okay, Erica Jane. So then eventually Waffles, I believe she jumped in it and she's like, no, I don't think that the real relationship between Simon and Porsha, I don't think it was real. I don't think it was love or it was nothing. And I agree. I think that Porsha, she saw, cha-ching, she had money signs in her eyes when she saw Simon, and she just capitalized off it and in a very shameless way, and the rest is history. But what did Nene Leakes say? You can never win when you play dirty, Porsha. Because now look, you don't have a marriage, that fell apart in the public eye. You got a big, beautiful, luxurious house out of it, a nice car that he gave you. And I bet that he flew you out everywhere. And I'm pretty sure he gave you a lot of money to save in your bank account. So why are we mad at Porsha again? Wait a minute. It actually sounds like she's the smart one and that we're the dumb one, because you would do it too. You know what, Porsha? I'm secretly not upset with you, but I have to be fake upset. So just go along. They start going back and forth, and I didn't see that coming. And Porsha, she describes her divorce similar to what Kelly is going through in hers. And I don't see the similarities besides both of them marrying shitty men. So I guess there's that. But then Shamea gets put in the hot seat and they ask her, so were you the one that introduced Simon to Porsha? Shamea, she starts looking at Porsha like, okay, just go along with whatever I'm about to say, okay? And Porsha, she's looking at her like,
sure.
So then Shamea, she's like, and then Drew, she speaks up and she's like, yeah, that's what I heard. So then Shamea, she snaps at her. She's like, yeah, you hear a lot of things. I'm like, ooh, what's going on, Shamea? You feel guilty? What's happening? That's the conscience speaking out, right? So Shamea, she continues and she's like, she's just freestyling at this point. She's like, I wasn't there actually. I don't even, I barely even knew Simon. I mean, we were Facebook friends at most. I think I followed him on Twitter or something like that, but I don't really even know Simon. Who's Fallon again? I'm like, Shamea, you're so full of shit. And then Portia's even more full of shit because then he asked Portia, did she actually introduce Simon to you? Now Portia, she's trying to go along with this story and this narrative that Shamea is trying to paint out terribly. So Portia, she's like, that told me everything I needed right there. That hesitation, because she looked down and she's like, okay, I need to watch what I say before we end up exposing ourselves. So she's like,
honestly, you know what? At the end of the day, he had me, I had him. I don't have any more. I gave him back. That's that. It is what it is.
I'm like, you and Shamea just full of it. And then we see it in the flashback that, yeah, Shamea, I could have sworn that, yeah, she did allude to her having played matchmaker between Simon and Portia. So, yeah, Shamea, I mean, if Portia and Simon are going to look bad for what they did, you're also an accomplice. Is that the word? Accomplice? You're also an accomplice in this whole scheme that Portia set up with Todd. They mentioned Drew's comment that she made in an interview on how she thinks that Portia's return to this show this season was a complete flop because Portia had promised to show this lavish lifestyle alongside Simon, but as she was coming back, her and Simon were also breaking up. So she came back with nothing but her hopes and dreams and nothing to show for. So yeah, I do agree with Drew. And if anything, Portia, I feel like this season kind of damaged your image even more than what it was, because people were already looking at you like, okay, you stole somebody's husband, that is wrong. But now on top of that, you implied that you were also Screw Angela's husband. And it just wasn't looking good for you this season. So of course, Portia, she had no real storyline. So she had to cling on desperately for life to the hot dog man and Drew situation and make that a whole situation the entire season. Was it that serious? No. So then they start mentioning on how, Portia thinks that Drew was screwing around, for some studio time. And I'm like, I get it. The economy is hard for everybody. But I mean, fucking for some studio time is crazy. Again, what in the Stevie J and Jocelyn Hernandez? At first, I mean, I did kind of thought that, like, that does look suspicious, Drew, because out of all the producers in Atlanta, you go to the hot dog man. What does he know about music, right? But then after some time, I'm like, you know what? No, I think that Drew's genuinely just doing this out of the good of her music, right? So that was that. So they continue going back and forth. Shamea, she jumps in trying to defend Portia, and then Drew shut the whole thing down. She was just like, yeah, you should go over there and sit on Portia's lap. Damn, Shamea. I mean, whew. She basically alluded that, you basically give Portia lap dances for free. You have to get paid for that, but you're over here just, just like Beyonce was doing to Terrence Howard. Do you like it like this? That's Shamea with Portia. So then Drew, they're going back and forth and she tells Portia, oh, well, really? Well, I have a good one for you. Camera people, put the camera on me. Simon says, you have no storyline. Ooh. She's just thinking like, yeah, I'm that bitch. Like, I hope that secured my peach for next season at least. And she practiced that line for like a good 3 weeks straight with Ralph in the basement. She probably made him a good sandwich. Like, she went down to his basement like, hey, Ralph, I know, we're not supposed to be talking or whatever, but I won't tell the judge if you won't. But I was just wondering if you could rehearse lines with me. I have this really good one just in case Portia comes at me. I was wondering if you could put this wig on and pretend to be Portia. Ralph, he was probably like, no, I'm not doing that. But eventually he gave in and he put the wig on and he was just like, okay, what do I say? They went back and forth and, Drew was just like, okay, Ralph, you ready? Okay, Simon says, you have no storyline. What do you think? And, Ralph was just like, yeah, use that. And here we are. Like, I could just see it already. That was too good, Drew. So kudos to you. Eventually, Andy asked Portia, do you think that you owe Drew an apology for alluding the things that you did about her and the hot dog man? Portia, she gets up, and Drew, you're way too slow for me because the second that I see Portia getting up without saying anything, and she's coming at me, I'm getting up, I'm moving those feathers off my dress, I'm taking off my heels. If anything, I'm gonna have a heel in my hand and ready for combat because I'm not sure what Portia's doing coming at me like this. Portia, she gets closer. Again, I would have told Kelly, move over because this is about to get ugly. And Shamea, you better not try to jump in either because Angela has you. So then Portia, she goes over and she grabs her hands and she's like, give me your hands. And again, Drew, I would have gave one hand and left the other one open just in case if Porsha tries to swing. You're not going to do me like how you did Kenya Moore all those seasons ago at the reunion. I still remember. So then Porsha's like,
I just want to say I was wrong for, thinking all those things about you possibly fucking a hot dog man. I should have never thought that, and I'm going to try to do better.
And I don't think I heard a I'm sorry or apology or anything like that, but I guess that's as good as it gets with accountability with Porsha. Then we find out that the new housewives, Shamea, Britt, Waffles, and Porsha, for some reason, they went into the season as an alliance. Like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? Like, this is what it's come down to? Alliances? 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 Like, really, alliances? That's what we're doing now? Alliances? Embezzle? Embezzle, Shamea? Like, really? Like, that's what we're doing? Like, alliances? Like, is it too late to reboot this whole show with a whole new cast for season 17? Like, let's just do it all over again at this point. Like, what are we doing here? Like, the desperation. And it was because they wanted to protect Britt because Britt was young. She didn't really know what she was getting herself into. And, Shamea was like, yeah, me and Porsha. Porsha was in on it. Porsha was just like,
wait a minute. Who said that? I was never a part of any alliance.
So Andy questions Porsha, were you not in it? Porsha, again, she got exposed because I don't think that Shamea will lie about something like that. Like, that's your so-called bestie. Why would she put you in that spot? Porsha just didn't want to be exposed again for the trillionth time. So then Porsha was just like,
look, I just feel like alliances kill this show and we can't continue doing that.
But you're part of the problem, though. But okay. So eventually they started talking about Britt and Waffles' history, their friendship, and honestly, they were never really friends. Because the fact that, all it took was for a stylist to get between them to throw out such nasty comments to each other about abortions, pill popping, allegations just, at each other. How close were you to begin with? True friends don't throw, low blows like that on the first fight. Usually it takes, maybe a couple of fights and some tequila and a night out, and then we get to throwing low blows like that, right? I started looking at Waffles a little suspiciously when she started talking about her finances, because it's almost like she was trying to cover up one thing to cover up another thing, and I just don't believe that she really has it like the way she makes it seem on this show. But she did say that she spent $200,000 on her divorce. Like, you see what a shitty man will make you do? Like, that is crazy. Did anybody hear what Phaedra said? She whispered over to Porsha, oh, that's it? She got off lucky. Like, Phaedra, what do you mean, that's it? Must be nice. That is crazy. And if you had it like that, why didn't you get a better stylist? But okay. So then I didn't like what Porsha said about Kelly and, her bodyguard. She was just like, oh, yeah, I don't think that Kelly really needs the bodyguard. I feel like, yeah, her husband is after her, but I feel like she's just putting on for the show. And that's only, to show a show or whatever. And I'm like, what a nasty comment to make, Porsha. Like, that is crazy that you're accusing her of that. But yet, the second that anybody accuses you of being a homewrecker, all of a sudden you get defensive. So Angela gets asked about the whole situation with the guy who came up to her and told her that Phaedra is the godfather of Atlanta. And then Angela, she brings out a prop. And I'm like, oh. Angela, come on now. Like, you started off so strong and, between the finale and this episode, like, you're really in your flop era, and it's sad to see, honestly. So she brings out a little envelope, at least the envelope, or at least the folder or whatever. It was on theme, with everybody else's clothes because it was also yellow. So, kudos. So she whips out a bunch of receipts, and I believe that they were like Facebook posts or something like that. And she was just like, yeah, you see, the guy who exposed Phaedra, he went to high school with Phaedra's brother. And Phaedra is genuinely looking at her like, okay, what are you talking about? And I'm looking at Angela, like, please put those files away. Like, just put it behind the couch and let's just pretend like we never had that out. Like, what are you doing? So Andy's asking Angela, like, Angela, you're 2 seconds away from getting your peach, rejected for next season. Explain yourself quickly. So Angela goes on to say that, there's 3 high schools in Athens, and there's 4 preschools, and there's a college down the street. I believe there was a McDonald's too, and they sell McFlurries in the mornings, but their apple pies are really good, and I love Wendy's cheeseburgers, and yeah, Phaedra's brother went to high school with him. And I'm like, Angela, like, We hate to see it. But, honestly, this whole reunion, I feel like, I don't know why they're extending this to the 3 parts, because honestly, there was a lot of filler. There was a lot of filler in this reunion, this one part right here alone. Like, we didn't really need to discuss a lot of things. And Angela, like, yucky, like... And Phaedra is a known liar, and I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. But I just don't think that she will set herself up for failure so quick like this, especially after the whole situation with Candy. I would just assume that she learned something from that. So then Phaedra was like, why would I do anything like this to you? I don't know you. I don't know you like that. Even though you were being shady about her and her husband. So eventually Angela was just like, it was because you were trying to secure your spot on this show. Angela, all right. You know what? Review is over. Like, we're done. Like, let me take this off. Like, Phaedra, she doesn't need you to secure her spot. She only filmed this show for 10 days. What does she really have to do? I'm pretty sure that the producers, Andy, they were all, hoping, Phaedra's gonna come back. She's all witty in the confessional. She's funny. Obviously, that was a flop. And I'm pretty sure they were like, the fans are gonna tune in because they're curious after so long. She hasn't been on the show. Now she's coming back, blah, blah, blah. So she doesn't need to secure her spot. Like, what a sorry excuse. Angela, stop it. Stop it. Angela, just between me and you, like, stop. Like, you're making a fool of yourself. So that was that. Let me know what you all thought about this first part of the reunion. It was okay. At least everybody, looked nice. Oh, by the way, Shamea, she was the best dressed. It came very close to just by a little bit between her and Porsha, but I think I'm going to have to give it to Shamea. She just looks good. Next to me, though. What does everybody else think about my outfit? Let me know that in the comments. Let me know what you all thought about this whole entire reunion so far, and who do you think is best dressed? And it better be me or else you're getting blocked. Bye. Bye, everybody. Mwah.